Welcome to In Heels with Keni Silva. And today's guest is a divorce attorney. But we're not going to be talking about divorce. We're going to be talking about relationship. Welcome, Kara Francis.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge about relationship, which I think is so important, especially after divorce. And I know you've been married, divorced, remarried, which is a big topic for women. How can I find love after ending one part of my life?
Yes. So many of my clients even say when I'm helping them through the divorce process, they're saying, I'm never getting married again. This has been horrible. I will never be able to trust again. And I always just say, okay, well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's just stay in the present for now. Let's navigate what's currently happening, and we'll table that for now. But yes, I think coming back into a relationship, I got remarried less than a year ago. And so a lot of that was just an exercise in figuring out who I was and what I really wanted, as opposed to finding the perfect partner.
And when you see a woman, because a week ago, I actually met a woman, and a lot of women come to me for coaching and things. And for that woman in particular, it was 9 years after divorce. And even she said it out loud so many times, well, I'm okay to be alone. I'm okay to be alone. And then in the back of her head, every other question was, well, where can I meet somebody? Where can I meet somebody? And I'm so afraid to be betrayed and this and this. And I told her, I said, well, first of all, you have to find out who you are. You have to be happy with yourself to the point you really don't need it. It's not about saying you don't need a person. It's about knowing and feeling. And then the universe will show you all these people. And the other thing I told her, I said, you have to understand that in this life, especially for me, I don't expect anything from anybody anymore. I expect that any person, depending on circumstances, will betray you. I also expect nobody is perfect. You're never going to find anybody on your list. So when you are realistic with your expectations, of course, you have a base, what you want to see in that person to create that long-lasting partnership. But we're all not perfect. There's going to be times when we're going to say, I can close my eyes on that because there's so much more to this.
Yes, I love that advice, because clearly nobody's perfect. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten divorced in the first place. So clearly nobody's perfect. And there's always a fear in relationships because you don't have complete control. It takes two willing people to be in a relationship together, two people who are willing to show up and grow and evolve. And so in a sense, there's always an aspect of it that is beyond your control. And yet, if you can become the type of person who can stand in that and trust yourself, trust that you know yourself enough to know what you want, what's negotiable, what's non-negotiable, what's just part of the human experience, then you can sort of stop white knuckling and trying to make everything so perfect. Because when we do that, then reality doesn't match expectation. That's what makes it so devastating.
But it's also, I feel like, especially, I got married very young. I was in my 20s. And now, after all these years, I realized that even in my 20s, what I needed and wanted is completely different from where I'm at right now. And unless you and your partner are both growing, that's why so many new people like we did, we grew apart. And I feel like, yes, maybe in your 20s, and when you read all these Cinderella stories for happily forever after, it doesn't exist. And you have to be honest with yourself that it's a life experience and you can have different experience with different people. And it's totally okay. You don't have to set yourself that, okay, I'm going to meet this guy. I'm going to marry him. It's going to be forever. That thought is actually very scary to me. It's like, oh my God, like you're going to eat steak and potato every day for the rest of your life. Like, oh my God, forget it. I mean, listen, of course, I know all these beautiful stories for 30, 40 years together. But at the same time, you have to expect that you're going to change.
Yeah.
And you're going to start wanting different things. It's absolutely normal.
Yeah. I feel like until I even hit 30, I didn't know who I was. I was just checking off the list of things that I saw growing up, either where I was raised or in movies or TV shows. I'm like, I guess this is what we're supposed to be doing to be happy,
Yes.
not really taking the time or even knowing that I had the option to choose a different path or take my time or just feel certain situations out, as opposed to just, nope, this is what we're supposed to be doing. So let's just full steam ahead. And that's why a lot of my clients struggle in relationships, because they're fine. They're okay. They're not necessarily in crisis, but it's not feeling what they thought it was going to feel like. And they're not feeling like themselves, and they're not even quite sure who they are. They just know their current situation is not it. And so there's so much pressure on a young age to make those big lifetime decisions. And I love how you said the part about death do us part. I always like to reframe it as till death of the relationship do us part.
Yes.
That could be for life.
I never heard this before, but I love it.
Could be for life, could not be. But it's like,
Yes.
let's stop putting so much pressure on it.
And that's what I feel like with the relationship. It's pressure.
Yeah.
It's pressure from the society. It's pressure from the parents that you have to get married and you have to do this. And, you know, like, it's like, but why? Like, a lot of people ask me these days, like, would you ever get married again? I said, truthfully, for me, it doesn't mean anything. Just because you're going to sign that piece of paper, it's not going to make you happy.
Right.
And if you are living and everything is perfectly fine, why? I'm okay with that. I mean, I know some girls love wedding. I never did. Even my first wedding, my ex-husband planned it because I'm not a wedding girl. I'm sorry, that's not me. I mean, if it's important to my partner, you know, then I would do it. But for me personally, I don't need that. And we can call each other husband and wife. I can wear any ring I want. That's not just because you got married, but the legal paperwork and all these things, changing the name, forget it. That's so much paperwork. And
I just changed mine back, and it was a huge pain in the butt. So.
It's like just all this legal process makes it like very unpleasant or unromantic, as I say.
Yes, yes. And it is all of that pressure to live one particular life model. And there's just not, always try to challenge people and myself to just stay curious. What other options or paths might there be that would bring me joy and make me feel most like myself, as opposed to trying to fit into this box that everybody else is doing, or I was told to do or taught to do growing up. And that's how you find true happiness and fulfillment, is by actually doing what feels good for you, as opposed to doing what everybody else is doing or what you think you're supposed to do to be happy.
So most women that come to you, what's their biggest, you know, disappointment? Is that they lost themselves in their marriage and they don't know who they are? I mean, that definitely happened to me, because once I became a mom, everything kind of shifted into like, well, this is my prime purpose in life now.
Yes, yes. I feel like as women, we have so many different identities that we take on over the years, that by the time we get a job, get married, have children, I mean, that's 3 separate identities right there. And then we wake up one day and we're like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I like to do for fun. I don't know why.
That was me.
You know,
that was me. Everybody's like, well, what do you like? I said, well, I don't know. I can tell you what my family likes, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And I had to try it. I tried everything. I swear. Like, if people ask me, well, how do you find yourself? I said, I tried it all, from going to taking vocal classes, to dance classes, to hiking, to like traveling, like everything, until I figure out what I actually like.
Yeah. It truly is trial and error, because that, again, that's that sense of curiosity. And there's so many different ways to live life. You just have to keep, like, that's life, is just keep trying and try this. And if that doesn't work, or it works for a while and then it doesn't, okay, now let's try this. And I feel like sometimes we are so white knuckling of like, no, it has to be this way and it has to be perfect. It has to look like this. And it's like, relax, just relax.
So what do you tell them when they come to you, like how to find yourself back?
So I always start with self-honesty. That's because a lot of them come to me feeling like I can't even trust myself to make decisions. And I always say self-honesty comes before self-trust. So let's lift up the rug. Let's pull out everything that's been shoved up under there over the years. And let's just look at it for what it is. Let's take accountability for how you got here. Let's look at what's working well, what's not working well, and sort of sift through all of the things that have happened to really find your way back to yourself and what you truly love and desire and want in not only a relationship, but in life. And then let's talk about what's been getting in the way. And a lot of that is what we've been talking about, which is just like that pressure to be a certain way or live a certain lifestyle, or limiting beliefs around what's possible for you, or fears of what other people are going to think, or disappointing people, like people pleasing. All of that stuff just gets in the way. And so it's about having someone neutral who's not in your day-to-day world to help you sort of zoom out and look at this for what it is, and then get clear on how you want to move forward.
So most of these women that come to you, do they have a clear mindset that they want to get divorced, or they come actually to, maybe to fix the relationship, or maybe they just want to find themselves to start thinking, okay, where I'm at right now, what do I want? I want to continue this relationship and work on it, or I want to get divorced and start all over.
Some people come to me and I can tell they've already made a decision, but it's not my job to tell them that. It's my job to help pull it out of them and own that decision. But
that's scary to make that decision. It took me 4 years. And once I knew, scary. I was like, okay, like, is my happiness even worth it? And it's like a guilt. And then I remember it was the scariest day of my life to actually tell that decision to my ex-husband.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I survived that day.
It's so hard. When we grow up, we aren't taught how to have these conversations or how to navigate even making these decisions.
Or tell my children, that was like, wow, that was even scarier. Yeah. And I remember talking to my attorney, like, how do I even tell them? Like, and this and it. And of course, like we played, like we practiced, but it was so different when it happens. And then I realized, like, you know what? There's no right way of ripping that Band-Aid. You just have to do it.
Yes. And it just comes back to knowing who you are as a person and trusting that regardless of what happens, I'm going to handle this the way that I know myself to be true, and I'm going to be okay, and they're going to be okay. And I just have to show up as myself in this situation, as opposed, because you can practice, you can read all of the books, you can intake all of the info, but at the end of the day, you got to do it in a way that is you. And that's what's going to be the truest, best form. But other women come to me and they're still very confused. They're not quite sure that, I get a lot of women who are, well, this doesn't really feel like it's bad enough for me to get divorced. And I'm like, hi, that was me. Like I've been in like the fine, okay marriage. It looks good on paper, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's aligned with who you are.
But do you think it's because of the fear of a change? Because it's better to be, okay, well, it's still okay, versus if I'm going to go, everything is going to change. My whole world is going to go upside down. So I better stay in the okay situation because it's safe. It's, I know exactly what to expect, versus take the whole life and just be like, hey, bye, I'm starting all over.
100%. Change is so hard. And I think a lot of people don't realize that staying and not doing anything is also a choice. It is an action. Inaction is action. And so it's almost like, yes, temporarily short term in this immediate moment, it is safer and less painful to just not make a change. And yes, it will be challenging and painful and bring up a lot of stuff to make the changes. But each of those paths sounds really hard to me, right? Like being in a relationship that is not fulfilling is sort of like sucking away your soul and not allowing you to be who you are. That sounds painful. Divorce is painful, but it's which hard path is going to get you closer to who you really are and who you're becoming and what you want your life to look like. And so it's helpful to sort of look at it from that angle, and also just realize that those feelings, that feeling of unsettled, it's not going to just go away just because you decide not to do anything. It's just going to keep eating away until you take some action.
And I also feel that it's much harder to have that choice and act on it, versus if a husband comes, or a wife, like the opposite partner, and says, I want to get divorced. Mm-hmm. Because even women complain like, oh my God, he wants to divorce me. We're like, obviously, if he wanted to do it, something was not going good and you didn't have the guts to do it. So he took the full responsibility of freeing you, which in my case, I had to be accountable for my decision. And sometimes it's so much harder because it's on you. It was on me. And even in my book, I said, you know what? I'm so sorry to put my kids, my husband through all this. I took a full accountability and I'm happy, but it's hard.
It's so hard, especially as women and mothers, because we're so programmed to put everybody else's needs and interests ahead of our own. And so then making this decision to end a marriage and that decision is going to have a ripple effect on other people is like the antithesis of everything that we've been taught to do as women. And so it takes a ton of courage and a ton of belief in yourself of, I know that even though this is really, really hard right now, that X months from now, X years from now, we're all going to be happier. And I just have to trust in that and keep taking one step at a time. But it's hard. And that's why it's helpful to have people like us who've walked through that to help other people through it, because it's not easy. It's very hard.
So when women come to you, what's their biggest setback from not going forward? Is it having children? Is it the fear that they're not going to survive on their own? Like, what is it?
I would say top 3 are definitely children, money, and fear of, well, what if I regret this? You know, and you get that a lot when it's a situation where, again, the marriage isn't in a crisis, but it's also just not fulfilling, and it's fine. It's okay. And their fear is, well, what if I end this okay marriage and then I get out there and it's absolutely horrible? And then I'm thinking. So
it's a fear of being alone, basically.
Yeah, fear of being alone and making a mistake, making a decision now that's going to result in them being alone. But yeah, kids are huge too. Again, just because of what we've been talking about of always putting your kids before yourself and just making a decision that feels contrary to that. And money is always a source of stress, both whether you're married or going through divorce. I mean, that's just the reality of the world we live in. And so it's a very understandable concern and fear.
So how can I can understand the money thing and the children, but how you tell them to overcome that fear of being alone or fear there's nothing better there? Like how to overcome that mentally?
That one is tough. And because at our core as human beings, we are wired to have a need to connect with other people, to be in relationship with other people. And so the thought of that going away and never finding it again can be paralyzing. What I try to do is help them view their current relationship for what it is and to just really own their reality and think, okay, but is this if what you're giving up, is it actually fulfilling that need for you? Because if it were, I don't think we would be having this conversation, me and you, because you would have that need fulfilled. And so you have to almost give yourself the opportunity and bet on yourself of, I deserve a relationship that actually is fulfilling and is aligned with who I am. And I trust that it's out there, but I have to show that self-trust by making this decision for myself, to show myself that I deserve more if I want more and if I want better.
Do you have a lot of women that come after divorce to ask you to help them find or start the relationship, or what they're doing wrong that they can attract maybe the man they want?
Yes. And a lot of that is kind of similar to the process that I follow when they're trying to decide if they want to get divorced, which is, again, I'm sort of like the mirror for you to examine yourself and assess yourself, not in a judgmental way, but in an honest way of, okay, what did I learn from my first marriage or my past relationship? What worked? What didn't work? What role did I play in that dynamic? What aspects of myself do I want to carry forward with me? And what aspects do I want to grow and evolve and learn from? And I love what you said as far as just, you have to be in a place where you don't need it, where you are technically fine being on your own. And then this new person is just sort of like the cherry on top of the sundae, but you are the sundae.
Yeah, exactly.
You are the ice cream and you're everything. And then the partner is the cherry on top. And so it's about developing that self-trust and confidence to get to that point so that you can actually see potential partners and spot patterns that maybe are going to pull you back into a past dynamic that you don't want to repeat. Yeah. And it's about elevating your awareness of yourself and how you're showing up.
I've heard before that after divorce, it's a good time to take your time to yourself, so you really don't find the same partner and create the same relationship you just exited, which a lot of times that's what happens, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I believe the rate of divorce for second marriages is higher
really
than first marriages, probably in large part for that reason, because people don't take the time to do that hard work. It's not necessarily always fun work to do, because it requires you, again, to take accountability for your role and examine things that maybe have deep roots in your past. And it takes a level of courage to face that. And it's not a picnic. But if you really want to find a partnership that is aligned with who you're becoming and what you say you want, then you've got to sort of sort through where you went off track and what's not going to get you there, and really own that.
But I feel like it especially happens to women. I have so many who they're going through divorce, but they're already thinking about the next marriage. And I was like, wow, that was the last thing on my mind when I was going through divorce. I just wanted to be free so I can enjoy this life. And I remember the hardest thing for me, even I already knew how to do everything on my own, but still I remember when I signed that paper, I moved out. And I remember driving one time, like, wow, if I get a flat tire, it's just me now.
Yeah.
And that's where you hit, it's like, not that I can count on anybody, but it's just like, it's me. I remember when I traveled the first time to Europe, which I travel all the time. And we traveled before and I travel now, but I remember going myself the first time. It's just like, wow, it was not scary, but it was like refreshing to the point. It's like, okay, I can do this. I mean, now I travel like every month, but it's gave me so much strength.
Yeah.
And also to know that I don't really need anybody. And that's why, to me, finding a partner, knowing I don't need anybody, you really have to worth my time, giving it to you, because I don't have that much time.
Right.
Because besides I have children, I have all these projects that I absolutely love. That's my love.
Yes.
You know, that's before anybody. So if I pick somebody, you have to add something to my life.
Yes.
To my well-being, to me just being better of who I am. And if you only take, then goodbye. Like,
yes, it really puts things into perspective of how valuable your time and your energy is and how you are using it. Things that you're giving access to, the people you're giving access to, the parts of yourself you're giving access to. And I also think when you no longer need someone, it just reduces the pressure again on the relationship, because there's not that fear of, well, what if we're not together? It's like, well,
exactly.
Then we're not together.
Or the expectations of, like I see a lot of women, they just expect that person is going to come and save them.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come and save you.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to always depend on a man to take care of you. Either it's emotionally or financially. You have to have your own life.
Yeah.
That's how it becomes a partnership. It becomes your best friend. This is not somebody you depend so much on what are you going to do today? And that's where I think when women jump from one relationship to another, it ends up the same way, because they don't take that time to explore.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times I feel like they don't even want to do it because it feels so much easier.
Right.
Or a lot of times I feel like they don't even want to do it because it feels so much easier.
Right. Well, and because if you have been in a relationship for so long, yes, of course, being single is going to be uncomfortable because it's a change, and change is uncomfortable. And I feel like we're so resistant to change and sitting in discomfort. It's like we want to do everything we possibly can to not be uncomfortable. But sitting in the discomfort, that's where the growth happens. That's where you learn the most about yourself and who you are and what you want, which is then going to translate to you being able to select a partner who is better aligned with the lifestyle you want to live and the type of person you want to be. But I feel like there's just that, and I feel like especially post-divorce too, because divorce is hard and it's very uncomfortable. And so then the tendency is to be like, well, how do I be not uncomfortable anymore? I'm going to get in a relationship with someone else. It's like, no, just stay there for a little bit.
I said in my book, take 6 months off. Literally, go on a maternity leave, but divorce leave.
Relationship leave.
Relationship leave. But for everything, first of all, just to put your life together.
Yeah.
just to don't even think about like milestones. Just give yourself time to breathe, just to get back on your feet, just to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And it's necessary that 6 months just to get your brain to calm down from all that grieving process and all those emotions.
Yep.
Because it's hard to, it's like you just ran a marathon and then you're like, okay, I can take a little break, but I'm gonna on the run again. Even the athletes take breaks between all these Olympics.
Yes. And I love how you said, like, just taking the time just to be present. It doesn't necessarily even mean, yes, you can date and have fun. That's part of it, but it's also just spending time with yourself. I was so excited to get my first apartment after I got divorced because I finally just got to be alone. And I embrace that. That's my personality.
Well, I love that. Finally, I don't have to ask anybody what furniture I'm going to get.
Oh, I got a pink couch.
Yeah, it's like what candle I'm going to buy. Like, I didn't have to do any of that. Just for me, it felt like, I felt like I was out of college, getting my new home ready. And I was like, wow, that feels great.
Yes. And if the thought of that, instead of feeling like really exciting, like it feels for us, if it feels really scary, then that's just an invitation to dig deeper.
Yes.
Why is that scary? Why does it scare me to be by myself? Why does it scare me to set up my own apartment? Why does it scare me to spend time getting to know myself? Like, let's dig into that. That's the real answer, not jumping into another relationship as a temporary fix, because the longer term work is always worth it. But sometimes it's helpful to have someone beside you to sort of hold you accountable to that and be like, that's interesting. Why do you think you feel that way? Or what's going on here? Or how does that relate to what you say you want your future to look like? And just sort of maintain the curiosity.
And I feel like a lot of times women who especially stay long in a relationship, they're so dependent on that opinion, a second that they cannot make anything on their own. They have to always second guess it. They always have to get an approval.
Yep.
And it becomes a habit, some sort of, that I cannot make a decision on my own.
Yes, they're so used to having that external opinion, even if it's a negative opinion.
Exactly.
Sort of like what we were talking about, like how people stay in situations they know aren't good, but it's familiar. So they say like even a familiar negative, like the criticism or what are you doing? Why aren't you doing it that way? Like even that, when that goes away, that can feel jarring and be like, wow, I have no one to tell me if I'm doing the right thing or not. I actually have to trust myself, and you will make mistakes, and that's okay. Like that's part of learning and growing. And that comes back to that pressure and the perfectionism of like, okay, so you don't have someone giving you feedback on your decisions in real time. Make the best decision you can in this moment. If it doesn't go the way you want, that's information that you can use for next time. And life goes on. You'll be okay.
I think the most important thing that people don't really know how to actually learn their lesson. So a lot of times what I do, and it helps me tremendously, if there is a situation that obviously I didn't act the way, I thought I should, or there's something happened, I write it down. And then I write like, okay, this is what happened, and this is what I learned from it. Because to me, first of all, for me, everything I write kind of sticks into my brain. It's like I engrave. I'm like, okay, hey, don't fuck it up again. Sorry. But it really works because then, and once in a while, actually, I go back and I reread those things just to refresh my memory on, like on behavior, on, like my emotional state, why I overreacted, how to, and when you don't do that work, it continues happening over and over.
Yeah.
And I'm just such a big, perfectionist and a master of, I want to be a better version of myself, whatever it takes, and I want to, not because I don't want to make mistakes. I just want to learn from them. So next time it can be a bigger mistake. And what you always also said about the change, every time there's a hard or difficult situation, and especially I tell my children, this is also your learning curve. This is where I get excited, because when life is like always beautiful and you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
And then when a big moment hits and you're like, whoa, first you're shocked. Then you're like, okay, why? What do I need to learn? But I always know that it's like a rainbow after the storm. First, you have to go through the storm.
Yeah.
And how you learn it. That's why I get excited. I'm like, okay, well, I want to see what you're going to give me for this once I go through. And it's always exciting because it's all the change your mindset. If you're going to concentrate on the storm, not the rainbow after, then you're going to be really miserable.
Yes.
But if you change your mindset to look forward to what's going to happen after, then it becomes like a game.
It's so true, because a lot of times when my clients are in the middle of divorce, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm just gonna agree to whatever he proposes because I just can't do this anymore. And I'm like, hold on. Number one, this is I know it doesn't feel this way, but it's a relatively short period of your life compared to the length of the relationship and the rest of your life ahead of you. Like, I know it's uncomfortable, and let's not rush. Let's just sit here for a second. And two, what is your why? What is your rainbow at the end of the storm? And in this moment right now, the decisions that you are required to make, which ones are going to get you closer to that rainbow? Like, you're in this process for a reason. And I know sometimes we lose sight of it when it gets really hard, but what is your rainbow, and what can we do to move you closer to it? Because right now you are in the storm, and there's something on the other side of it as well. And so what does that look like for you? What do you want it to look like? And how can we make decisions that are going to get you closer to that?
You know, a lot of people, I think, especially women, they don't know what that rainbow even looks like. They don't know what they want. They don't know even, how much money they need to take care of themselves.
Yeah. There's so many different aspects of the process. Like, divorce impacts every single aspect of your life. And so that's why I'm a really firm believer in building your team. As a former attorney, or someone who used to practice law full time, I used to have clients come to me for everything, things that I wasn't even trained or qualified to answer, like the financial questions. And so from that experience, and now as a coach, I've just learned the importance of building your team. Have a coach, have an attorney, have a financial analyst who's helping you run those scenarios. Like, this is your life. So these are big decisions, and they should be treated with the right level of attention and support.
What do you enjoy more? When you were, being a divorce attorney and helping women get through their hardest life, or being a coach and teaching them how to have a relationship and beautiful relationship, what to look forward to?
Definitely the latter. And what's funny or ironic is what originally inspired me to become a divorce attorney was seeing my own sister go through her divorce and really choose herself and reclaim herself and make a tough decision so that she could live and create a life that felt like hers. And I was like, I want to help people do that. I'll go to law school. I learned pretty quickly after I started practicing that that's not really the lawyer's role. And so I stuck it out for about 6.5 years. And the silver lining is that is where I learned divorce coaches for the first time, because a lot of my clients had them. And the more I sort of observed how they were working with the client, I was thinking, I think I'm supposed to be over there. Like, I
want to do what they do.
I threw the dart a little crooked, because they were doing that deeper personal transformational work, not just for the current storm, the divorce, but what comes next, and who are you really, and what do you want, and how can we view this as an opportunity to really transform your life? And so the more I sort of observed how they were working with the client, I was like, I'm going to pivot just a little bit. So I definitely feel much more purposeful. This is the type of work that inspired me to become a lawyer initially. And so I took kind of a long way here, but I made it.
Do you think being, a coach and a divorce attorney helped to get through your own divorce easier or not?
So I became a divorce attorney, then I went through my divorce, and then I became a coach. So the legal experience definitely helped me through my divorce, because I did my own divorce. It's like the only good aspect of it. But I really struggled on the emotional side. I really struggled with those questions of, well, who am I, and what do I want, and why am I making this decision, and what's my role in this dynamic, and how do I want it to be different in the future? And so I had to ask myself those own questions. And then I realized, oh, this is why my clients struggle through this process, because as an attorney, you're just focused on problem solving and the legalities of it all. And you don't realize there is so much happening underneath the surface that can actually make divorce cases take longer to resolve, because there's just so much inner turmoil. And so then I finally got to experience that. And I was like, oh, I get it now. So that's really what inspired me to make the pivot was post-divorce. I was like, you know what? I'm not happy practicing as an attorney. And so just as I wasn't happy in my marriage, I need to honor that feeling and do something about it. And so that's sort of what led me to be a coach.
So did it help you to meet your, future husband and how you handled the whole relationship? Because I'm pretty sure, like after you've been married, you have certain expectations and you also already, you've been there, so you know what to look for.
Mm-hmm. Well, and on top of that, I was in a career where I saw really, really tough stuff happen in married couples. And then you've got that end of the spectrum. And then you've got my first marriage, which was like, And it was like, well, it's not that bad compared to what's going on over here that I see every day.
That's how I was like, oh my God, these people really went through something.
Yeah, like it really messes with your head and just like your barometer of like what you're willing to tolerate in a relationship and what you want in a relationship. So with my current partner, yes, it was very clear with myself that I needed someone who was very patient and kind and help to pull my own emotions out because I can tend to internalize and shut down. And so I needed someone to meet me there and someone who also was just committed to growing, not perfection, like you said, but just committed to growth and committed to learning and building a life together as opposed to just checking things off the list and then flatlining.
Do you have a lot of couples come to you?
I mostly just work one-on-one. Okay. Because most of my couples are also in therapy or my clients are in therapy, either individual and or couples therapy, which is very important too. But my space is really a safe space for one person to just be fully open and honest about what they want and then take that back into their conversations, either in couples therapy or with their spouse or their attorney. But I wanted to provide a safe space for people to really explore those big questions of who are you? What do you want? There's no pressure here. This is just a space for you to explore and get curious about yourself.
And is it mainly women that come to you or there's men who don't know who they are?
So mostly women, yes. I've had male clients over the years though. And it's been great.
What male? I'm curious, what men suffer? Because it's always like, I think everything that women go through in their mind, because I have the same, but I'm always curious what men, because I believe the way men look at it, as in a divorce, it's a business transaction for them. There's no emotions involved. So that's why I tell women, you have to look at it. Divorce is a legal lawsuit. Look at it as a lawsuit. It's a business transaction. Don't put your emotions. Nobody's going to pay for them. Just separate it. And that's why men move on so fast. They separated pretty good.
Yes. And I will say that the female clients I've had have been ones who have been more in touch with their emotions, which has been refreshing. But interestingly, very similar concerns as the female clients, which is like, I'm worried my kids are going to be so upset with me for making this decision, or I don't know how it's going to work out financially. I'm worried about, how am I going to be a single parent? And just like very, some logistical concerns, but a lot of emotions come up too. And I feel like divorce, yes, it is kind of like a business deal or transaction, and there are still emotions. It's about where are you channeling your emotions, right? Because if you're doing it with your attorney, that's going to get very expensive and you're probably not going to get the support that you need because it's just not their role. So it's about, again, coming back to building your team and how are you processing the emotions so that they don't get in the way of the business side, the logical side, so that you can make those well-rounded decisions.
Do you see a lot of women that come to you that, for me, it was a big fear that my kids would say, that's, Mom, why did you do it? Like it affected our life, which, I thought about it a lot. And, my kids both now like, you know what, Mom, you did the right decision. And if anything, I actually was thinking about it the other day that I don't think if I would never get divorced, my kids would see me who I truly am right now. Aww. Because even 2 years ago, I took my daughter to Aspen Snowball, the charity I'm on the board, and she saw me in my element. She said, Mom, I see you in your element. Like everybody knows you. What you do is so amazing. It changes people's lives. And I told her, I said, like, because it's just like, I only knew you as being a mom, do your homework. And my kids would never know me for who I am.
Right.
And that's why I realized like this was totally worth it. Well, first of all, I'm such a big believer. Like I told my kids, I'm like, hey, you still have a loving mom, loving dad. You have a family unit. Yes, you'll have to go from home to home. Yes, it's inconvenience, but I'm always going to be there for you. Your dad is always going to be there for you. But what you see, who you see me and know, that was not me during marriage. Yeah. Their kids looked at me completely different. Mm-hmm. And now they're like, Mom, you're my biggest inspiration. And I became that inspiration. And I absolutely love it. And to me, I'm so grateful for that, for them to not only me finding myself, my kids seeing real me.
Right. The benefits of them being able to see you be a full human being, go after your personal dreams and be their mom and just like live life the way that you genuinely want to live your life. That has so many positive effects compared to staying together in a relationship where, and maybe they're not always exposed to conflict, but they're just exposed to a model of love and marriage and
settling.
Yes.
And exactly. I told my kids, especially to my daughter, I said, in a sense, I'm doing it for you. I always want you to know if you aren't happy, it doesn't matter if it's relationship, work, you can always walk away.
Yeah.
And when you grow up, you will understand that. Yep. And yes, you have a fear and all these things, but none of this is worth in staying and settling your life for.
Oh, I love that you share that with her. So many of my clients are, I try to frame it to them that way of like, would you want your daughter to stay in this type of relationship? And the answer is always no.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, so now let's apply that to ourselves. Yes. It's like, and if we can't, again, let's dig deeper into why we're having trouble like applying that to ourselves, because it's so true. I mean, you're making a decision that I think we're programmed to view it as like a selfish decision, but then you see the positive effects it's having on your kids, being able to see you thriving as a parent, a businesswoman, and just a human being, as opposed to staying for the kids, as they put it.
And, I always I learned the best way to communicate with your children and is honestly communication, is being completely honest and raw and show your emotions. And I told my kids, I said, listen, I never been divorced. I don't know what it is, but we're going to get through it together. Yeah. We're going to do first things together, even in the house, where we live, I would always ask them okay, guys, what do you want to do? So I make them a part of a team. This is our new family. You still have a dad and a beautiful home there, but I'm not excluding you. Yeah. If anything, you're part of decision making, and we're going to get through it. You might have questions, but you can always come and ask. And I might not know the answers. We're going to just have to live through it together. But I said, how many things in life you're not going to know? And this will teach you how to find an answer, how to get through things. Mm-hmm. And knowing you're not alone, that's the most beautiful thing in this world. Yeah. And, we talk a lot. I'm very honest for everybody. It's sometimes it's very uncomfortable to talk to your children. But I realized from very young on, the kids are they can take any information and they can relate. And it actually helps them, because what I realized for most children, not knowing what's happening, not knowing that, okay, what is it going to be like? It's the biggest fear for them. Mm-hmm. And that's where the trauma happens, because they feel like they're not in control.
They're not safe.
They're not safe. They don't know what's happening. They don't know. It's okay, well, are we going to lose mom? Are we going to lose dad? Are we not going to see them? How is it going to work? So I would tell them every single step of the way, this is how it's going to be, but I'm always there for you. I was always, the first 6 months, I'm like, you can call me anytime you forget. And I was there. Yeah. And I made sure that they feel okay, mom is still there. She's not going anywhere. Now my kids were there. Dad there to call me. I'm like, well, I know that they're safe.
Because they have that safe foundation.
Exactly. Yeah, they have that safe foundation. They can relax.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel even, yes, my kids went through something traumatic, but at the same time, I also feel they became so self-sufficient that I don't think my kids would have, or I would have created that situation for them to become that way.
Yeah. Well, and you're also showing them what we talked about earlier, which is there are different paths in life. You don't have to just follow one path. You can make different decisions, and we learn and we change and we grow, and you don't have to pressure yourself to just fit this one specific model, because you're showing them in real time, hey, look at me, I'm doing something different and we're great.
Well, I talk about everything with them. How I even starting this show, like I sat them down and we had a conversation about fears and things. And I said, okay, like I'm starting this show, and because we were talking about like fears, and they're like, okay, what's your biggest fear? I said, my biggest fear is I'm not going to have that much time to spend with you guys. And my daughter goes to me like, Mom, I know you're going to be busy, but if you just spend 1 hour a day with us, just a conversation, we don't need you all day there because we're busy. And I learned from them, truthfully, how to be a better parent, because the kids always tell you, if you're willing to listen, what to do.
Yes.
If you don't neglect them and you don't think they will tell you. Yeah. If you come today and say, hey, how can I make your life better? How can I be a better parent? They will tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's comes back to just being honest with them and having those honest conversations so that they feel safe to tell you. And then, it's just beautiful that they get to see you make these decisions that are choosing yourself and also choosing them in a way, because you're choosing to provide them with a different future, a more positive, happy model as a parent and woman and just business person. I mean, it's just, it's wild how that one decision can feel so heavy in the moment, but then can have so many positive ripple effects.
And that's how I look at it back. I was like, wow, that was really scary. But I'm like, hey, I think it benefited everybody.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just saying, it's a happy ending story.
Yes, 100%.
Well, thank you so much, Kara. Unfortunately, our time came to an end, but where people can find you if they want to get some coaching on relationship and how to get through things and start all over.
Yes. Thank you again for having me. This was such a good conversation.
Thank you.
You can find me on Instagram at Kara Francis Coach. And you can also find me on my website, karafranciscoaching.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and
Thanks for having me.